Crickster here. As a child of the 80s, growing up playing with Lego castles and enjoying the lovely artwork in the boxes and those fantastic catalogues that had all those scenes set up with minifigures, in my head when I was playing with Castle, that's exactly what was going on as a child. So now I'm an adult and I can build bigger castles. Why don't I do that and try and do what was in my head as a child now? So here goes. So I decided to do a medieval walled town, and this is the area that I've got marked out in my Lego man cave to do it. So where the drawbridge is there that I've started work on, that's roughly where it's going to go. Might move it a little bit, depends on what I do with the additions and adds on and stuff, but all the other castles that you can see there in the background, there's some of the work that I've done. So there's Lion Knight's castle that I sort of made bigger and moved up, added a better ramp. That's been to a couple of shows. The Royal Keep in the far corner, the Sorcerer's Tower, which is the burgundy tower there, they're going to stay within the medieval town. And then you can see parts of the blacksmith, which is part of the Black Falcon's build. So that bit there is there. That's actually going to not be in there, and that's going to be kept together. That's separate, but it's just been put there in its modular stages for the time being, while I work on the village. So the main part of the work that I've started on is clearly way down here with the moat, where I've done a snot moat got fed up of using the technique of the Ninjago tiled thing, so I tried to do the bricks flat down, so you might see that a bit closer on as I progress. I've started building the main gatehouse, which is the sort of front entrance to the town. So the concept of the town really is that the wall will go all the way around the town, and then there'll be marketplaces, houses, inns, taverns, keeps within that wall. It doesn't look like it's a massive space on here, but it's not too bad in terms of like a project size, because it's pretty much 32 by 32 base plates deep, and then a good 4 or 5 and a half sort of long. So it's quite a big area to pack out with some poses, some street, some animals, quite a lot of detail to get in there, and then make all the buildings modular. And I want to kind of incorporate them into the wall as well, so the wall's going to have like these rolling, which is a bit of a nod to the guarded in, that kind of thing. So I wanted to do that, go back to that sort of nostalgia area of classic castle, and really hone in on making it modular and movable. You'll also see the big green slope pieces that I've used for the embankment. So I've got quite a lot of them that somebody gave me because they didn't know what to do with them, and I don't really turn down parts, especially when they're free. And I usually find a way of using them now. So I've got quite a lot, and originally some of these were going to be used for the pods of Thunderbird 2, so I can have more than one pod, and I can still do that because I've got quite a lot of them. But I do think they look quite good, and yes, they're not the most fanciest way of doing the landscaping technique that you could use, but I do like to use pieces that I've got and make the most out of them, rather than just constantly have to do snot technique for this, or layer it up this way, or look at other ideas. So the rest of this sort of area as you go down is probably going to have like a black forest that I want to do with a few of the forestman sets. Obviously you can see I've got the Castle of the Forest there. I've done a bit of tidying and lined up some troops just in preparation for this project. So a lot of those figures will be going into the other castle and this medieval town. So my inspiration is completely based on the new Lion Knight's castle, because 608 the original Lion Knight's castle is my favourite, or Crusaders castle, was my favourite as a child. The Lion Knights faction were my favourite faction, and that's not changed. I do love the Black Falcons, I love what they bring and the colours, but the Lion Knights are still special to me, so they will be my main faction. And I thought to myself, well, as much as I like the Lion Knights castle, it's a display piece. It has player features in it. It's a display piece, and I've lifted it up and I've done some extra things with it, but I'm not like 100% thinking this is, what I want to go down this direction. And I was going to have it towards the back of this whole area, so I just thought, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to maybe make the walls and the gatehouse very Lion Knight castle inspired. That's that whole 6080 feel to it, and basically extend the walls out and add the bits on again, like I said, like the original sort of modular add-on to the castles, which that they could have done loads of different things for. They did a few, but not many. So yeah, it was a better look at the embankment and some of the water techniques that I've started with, and that's the overall sort of idea of the plan. Like I say, I've already got the Royal Keep and Sorcerer's Tower that can go in there and position. Got a few ideas for some other buildings, but it's a case of putting together, using the sort of mill system to a degree, keeping it modular, and so that I can really see how far I go. I've got no final picture in my head. I would like some sort of dock area for boats, some kind of stalls that I've done before. I was waiting on some pick-a-brick pieces, and they've come in. The bestseller stuff turns around quite quickly now from Poland, which is good, from Lego. So I've got myself some more torsos and a few little bits. I also got a brick link ordering because I wanted to use the Erling headlight bricks for a wall technique. So I ordered that, and that came in from Bricklink as well. It doesn't look like much, but this just goes to show the expense of how much Lego can cost, because there's £110 worth of Lego just in those bags, as ridiculous as that sounds. So moving on, I've done a bit of progress. I've managed to get some of the wall up. You can see that headlight brick technique that I was doing. I've experimented with a bit of texturing, trying to blend in the green in embankments. And I've been working on the cantilever drawbridge, which is the same design as the Lion Knights castle, the anniversary castle, which is a really clever thing, but it is really, really tricky. So I've been doing some work on that. Basically, I'm not quite as high up as I would like to be. Yeah, you can kind of see the embankment, the snot water, what I'm trying to sort of blend those pieces in, and that water's laid down across the base plate rather than be tiled. Just gives it a little bit of a different effect, and I'm hoping I can continue that in the other sections as well. Use some greenery. I'll just sort of add some extra layers as I go along to these sections, and just try different things out and see what looks right. But the idea is they're all modular, so they can just chunk together, and then if I'm not happy with something, I can just take that section out. I've also tried to vary the embankment as well. If you look, rather than have it as a straight line, I did do a straight line one before when I've done when I did my round castle that I did for a show, and it just looks a little bit better when you stagger them, give a little bit more of a range. But like I say, I'm happy with them. I know it's not the best looking technique, but it's doing the job, and it's relatively cheap to be able to just build up that embankment quick with some green 2x4s and some slopes. So yeah, it's not quite as high as the Lion Knights castle, so I've got to do some work on the cantilever system to make that fit, because you need quite a deep pot. So they've obviously got it in there so that it will drop anybody that's on the drawbridge into the dungeons below. So I don't want to go that high on the gatehouse. I don't want to have that much scenery built up, so I've only got a small little bit of sections to try and get this to work. But yeah, it's starting to come on now. I'm starting to get a feel of what I want to do and which bits that I want to add, and yeah, you can see where I've lifted up the snot water there, where it's just literally laid on the base plate. It seems to work quite well. I'm very happy with it, and I've used the sort of clear headlight bricks in there as well to be able to add some texture. So as you see in there, there's not much room for that drawbridge to move up and recess down into. So I've got some work to do there, fixing that out and just getting it all sorted. So now I've done a little bit more. I've added some additional bricks to the height of this, start to get a feel of the way this is going to go. My plan is to add some more bricks in here and a little pathway sort of coming down there, bit of a ramp to get that'll be sort of fixed in place for the drawbridge to hit, and then just work out how I'm going to sort of blend that pathway in, because that will be the main path that leads across. Had a look at experimenting with a couple of different types of arches, different effects, but I want to keep that original Lion Knight's Castle Gate look. I know it's a lot wider than the Lion Knight's one, so I'm just going to try and work on that and see what it takes me. But the overall, it's coming on quite well. I'm quite pleased with it. So again, now I've added a bit more detail to it. I've managed to add the shields in so I can see what they're going to look like. I'm still working on this drawbridge. It's getting really, really tricky now to sort out, referring back to the original instructions, but it's the weight of the bottom of the drawbridge that has to be so heavy. If you have got the Lion Knight's Castle, just try adding an extra couple of plates on the end of it and seeing if it still works, because it just doesn't. When you add length to it, it just throws off that counterbalance. So I've really got to come up with some solutions to this, because I need it to be this long as it is now, and I also need it to be able to work and actually go up consistently. So I've managed to get the walls done. I'm quite happy with the detail. I'm working around the back now on the upper sections of how to do things, leaving it pretty much open where the stairs are, because again, I want to see where the other walls are going to line up when they're added. So I'm being quite flexible with the design at this point. Again, I want to use stairs. I don't want to use too many snot techniques and stuff, because it's going to affect the sort of cost, and it's not really going to be a showpiece. It's more of going to be a play. So now I've managed to do a bit more textured work on the front. I'm quite happy with how this is starting to turn out, using a few of the dark green to give it a bit more of a landscaping effect. I'm still struggling with the drawbridge a bit. It's just not quite weight balanced, but I have managed to get a weight in there now that I'm quite happy. It is a heavy end now, and it is moving up and down. It's just slightly coming off the pivot points, so I've got to look at that and see if I can tweak it. But we are getting a consistent where you lower the chains and the way it's taking the bridge down, you tighten the chains and it's pulling the drawbridge back up. So we're getting there, but the front of it, the outside walls, I'm quite happy with. You can see it just gets stuck. It's just riding off, and the sort of pivot points are coming away as well. So then I need to tighten them up and add some bases. I can't tell you how many times this drawbridge has been in and out today trying to get this to work. But yeah, the point there of the pivot has come off, and that tends to be when it's used quite regularly. So I'll have to reinforce that, maybe extend it or just brace it more. Can't put much deep plates on it because it will get stuck as it tries to lift up, because there's so little recess in there. But I'm quite happy with the front design. I've got the Lion Knight statue head in there. I've got the front of this bit covered with the little brown ramp and the greenery to blend in. Now I've got a portcullis, which again is an extension of the portcullis that is in the Lion Knight's Castle. I've added a few extra details to it, like the spikes at the bottom with the tooth pieces, but this is working really well. As you'd expect, copied the mechanism and just adjusted it for the width, because it's obviously a bigger gate. It's got the little hold on it, so it's going to hold it into position. It's not quite dropping fully down, but I'm not too bothered about that at the moment, because I haven't built up the back, as you'll see in a minute. I haven't kind of caught up with where the drawbridge sits. Got the top towers done. There's one of my like guards. I'm using the white trousers and the white helmets for a couple of like sort of higher level ranked Lion Knights. And yeah, it's pretty much there how I want it to be. Quite happy with the overall effect that I'm getting. Around the back I've added some supports in, so that's looking pretty good. There's enough room for the portcullis to hold in. I need to add some supports under these stairs, but again I want to make sure that the walls next to it are all going to line up first before I start messing too much with that detail, because they need to be able to access the other floors as well. I've left the drawbridge lever on the side. I'm not probably going to keep it there because of where the other wall goes, but I've just put it in there for now for reference. As you can see, the path's taken shape. Happy with all the front of it. I've added the flags, etc. Yeah, I'm really pleased with it so far. So this is just sort of the main gatehouse, and we're pretty much where we need to be. So next time we'll be looking at doing some of the additional walls, starting to get some framing around the whole of the town, and just see how it goes. But thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this first video of my first day one building of the medieval town.